All right, so in this video, we're going to continue what we're doing with recursive and explicit sequences and finding terms. We're going to work more on recursive equations. So the other video had some examples of finding terms for explicit equations. Here we're going to do some recursive ones. So first off, I thought people struggle sometimes with the notation. Recursive has this a sub n minus 1. Sometimes you might have a sub n minus 2. And I think we get confused about what that means. So for example, if I am, if I know that n is, say, 3, then a sub n minus 1 really means a sub 3 minus 1 or a sub 2. And that would be the second term in my list. If n is something like, let's say, 7, let's say n was 7, then a sub n minus 1 would be a sub 6. And so a sub 6 would be the term that came before a sub 7. If n is, let's say it's 8, then a sub n minus 1 would be, see if you can think of it, a sub 7, oops, not a very good 7, and a sub n minus 2, well, that would be a of 8 minus 2 would be a sub 6. In other words, and if we think about in our list, if a8 is down here, the number right before it is a7, and the number right before that would be the 6th number in our term. So again, this could be our a sub n. This would be then the a sub n minus 1, and this would be the a sub n minus 2. That's sort of the idea. I hope that makes sense. So now we've talked about that notation a little bit, let's look at some examples. So in this notation right here, we're saying a sub 1 is negative 5. What that means is that the very first term in my list is negative 5. To get the next term, so this would be my a1. The next term will be my a2. If I want to get a2, I'm going to take 10 plus a1. Well, a1 was negative 5. So basically, I'm taking this and I'm adding 10 to it to get the next number, and I will come up with 5. Now, when I want to get a3, again, I'm going to take 10 and add it to a2. Well, a2 was 5. When I add 10, I'm now at 15. See how we're doing this pattern of plus 10, plus 10. The notation, this up here is saying I take whatever term I have and I add 10 to get the next term. That's what we call recursive. I build my sequence not by putting in a number and doing some math and getting the number out, but I base it on what came before in some way. Let's try another example. Okay, so in this one, our very first number in our list is 2, right? That's our a sub 1. That's what we get when n is 1. When n is 2, okay, so now I'm looking at n is 2, that's going to give me a sub 2. And what do? Well, I take n, which is 2, and I add a1. Well, a1 was 2. So basically, I'm doing 2 plus 2, and my second term is now 4. So let's follow the pattern again. When I want a3, I'm actually going to erase this so we can try it right here because I need a little more space. So when I want a3, I'm going to take n, which is 3, and add it to a2. Well, this right here, there's my a2. So I'm going to do 3 plus 4, and I get 7. Okay. Then I want the fourth term on this one. So again, I want the fourth term. Let's erase this up here. So when I want a4, I take n, which is 4, and I'm going to add a 3, because that's 4 minus 1. And so in this case, I get 4 plus 7, or 11. And we could keep that pattern going forever, but I just said the first 3 or 4 terms. We can even make it more tricky. So that one was a little tricky because we had not only a sub n minus 1, but it also used n. And one last sort of level of trickiness is to find a bunch of different terms, or use a bunch of different previous terms. So here they've given me the first 2 numbers in my list. So I know that the first number is 1. So that's my A1 right there. A2 is 5. So I have the first 2 numbers. That is not a very good looking 5. Let's try that again. Again, thank you for bearing with me as I try out this new technology of this iPad. All right, so then when I want A3, it says that I take a sub n minus 1. So I want this number right here. N minus 1 is 2. So I want A2, which was 5. That was 5. And I'm going to add it to twice n minus 2, which would be A1. In this case, plus 2 times 1. And I add that up, and I get 7. If I want, well, that's the first 3 terms. Let's try to find the next term, though, because I think we want to try this again. Maybe you could pause the video and try it, and then see if you get the same thing I get. So when I want A4, I'm going to take A4. I'm going to take the number right before, a sub n minus 1. Well, that was the 7. And I'm going to add twice the number that was 2 spots before. So it's here. That's like 1 spot back. This is the 2nd spot back. And I'm going to get a total of 17. And I could keep going in that manner and get a bunch of other numbers. So hopefully now you have enough to be able to do your homework. So you should be able to write the terms of a sequence given explicitly or recursively, and you can do this homework from our book.